we saw the new schedule, we saw all this stuff, we saw draft and coming in, and the Saints have acquired Klint Kubiak as their new offensive coordinator after getting rid of Pete Carmichael for 2006 to 2023, however long that is, like 17 years or something. Yeah, something around that ballpark. I can't remember exactly the season number, something around 17. And this guy is, I want to give a little bit of history on him. I want to give a little bit of credit to him because he was in San Francisco in 2021 till now. So till he went to New Orleans. And I want to tell you who is the Mr. Irrelevant pick that they drafted. Just so happened to draft back in 2021, 2022, whenever the draft he got. They got a man named Brock Purdy. Now, we saw with the injuries, hey, Jimmy G, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy was up, and now we know that Brock Purdy is a starter. Although Kyle Shanahan's influence matters in that 49er system, Klint Kubiak was there the entire time Brock Purdy was developing into a starter. So he was the passing games coordinator in San Francisco. So a lot of credit goes to him. Not all of it, of course, because Kyle Shanahan is a great offensive mind. A lot of credit goes to Klint Kubiak and how he was able to take a Mr. Irrelevant pick and turn him into a starter in the NFL. A good starter, might I add. Now, he comes to New Orleans, and I was very excited with this pick because of his father and all this stuff and the history. And he was asked, hey, how are you going to run this offense in New Orleans? And for me, we have a big quarterback issue these past couple of years, especially since Drew Brees has been gone. I'm thinking, hey, this guy is going to fix our quarterback issues. We're going to draft somebody in this draft, hopefully have him sit behind Derek Carr and let him learn a little bit. And maybe Klint Kubiak can develop an offense that is going to be perfect for this guy to learn and get some reps in. So I'm thinking, hey, this is going to be a good idea. And so Klint Kubiak goes to say, hey, we're going to run the ball in New Orleans. That's going to be our main thing because, hey, we have the best running back depth and one of the best in the NFL of running back depth. I mean, we saw with the draft pick, they got a tackle to help out with the running game, I'm assuming, because, hey, Klint Kubiak turned a Mr. Irrelevant pick into a quarterback starter, really good one, but yet he's going to throw out everything he knows and make a running offense in New Orleans. Why is this a thing, Nate? Like, explain this to me because I legit cannot think of a single way why you would want somebody to change everything that they've been doing in these past couple of years, which has been successful, and make something else. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And as you see with that city of New Orleans, they try to fix a lot of things that ain't broke.
I think sometimes you can be too smart for your own good, and sometimes you can do things that are that go against the grain. In some cases, they work, but you have whatever. If it's not been broke, why would you try to fix something? You have a great team, a great nucleus. You have great players. If you have ran the offense a certain way, there's no need for you to change it. When you bring somebody in, they just adjust to they just adjust to the talent that you have, and they have a lot of talent. Whether we want to admit it or not, New Orleans is a talented team. I don't understand why. I listen. That's the Saints. That's your team. You know, I should be asking you these questions. Why?
Well, we take somebody like Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael. We saw as soon as Sean Payton left, Pete Carmichael really wasn't worth nothing.
Oh
We
no, he wasn't.
saw, hey, Sean Payton was really calling the punches on
Sean Payton
offense,
was calling the whole. Like he really was the one calling the plays. You
but
know,
he wanted somebody, and I feel like Pete Carmichael was the guy that he could say, hey, Pete, do this, sit. And Pete Carmichael was the guy that was able to do that because, hey, he's Pete Carmichael. I mean, what?
you have some coaches that are just really good. Some coaches that are really, really good at game planning and calling the play with the flow of the game. Andy Reid. Mike McCarthy, whether they like it or not. I love Mike McCarthy because, again, he's really good at what he does. And when he calls plays from the flow of the game, how the game is going, and so forth. Sean Payton. Sean Payton and Drew Brees, that was, if I'm not mistaken, and you correct me, I know you're not going to be biased, for the time that Sean Payton and Drew Brees were together, that marriage that lasted for a long time, that offense was top 5 in every category statistically every year.
I'm trying to think.
Drew Brees put up numbers every year.
Oh yeah, that's why I have a big argument for
That
Drew
I
Brees
that
as one of the top quarterbacks.
that that offense in itself, again, with Drew Brees at quarterback, Sean Payton, that allowed them, there was familiarity, there was a relationship, and just, again, they had a bond. And Sean was able to call the plays based on the flow of the game and listening to his quarterback and whatnot and seeing what the opposing team is doing. Listen, New Orleans has been hurt since Sean Payton has left. New Orleans has been hurt.
Well, I hate when people say, "Oh, we really see that Drew Brees was the guy that was actually doing everything in New Orleans," and I disagree. Like, I think Sean Payton did a lot for New Orleans, and I want to say you can't do what the Broncos did and expect somebody to come in like Sean Payton and be Mr. Clean, be a miracle worker, and change that franchise inside and out in one season. We're saying, hey, he had an increase in like 3 or 4 more wins in the past season with Nathaniel Hackett, but we're saying, oh, it was Drew Brees who did everything in New Orleans. I disagree. I just think I don't think any coach could go into Denver and bring him to the playoffs the next season. And Sean Payton almost did it. They almost made the playoffs, and it went down to the last 2 games of the season. It just didn't happen. But I don't understand why they're doing it, Nate. And I think what my dad has told me before, and we've had this conversation. It's just New Orleans telling Klint Kubiak what to do and how to do it
That's basically what it is.
because he's new and impressionable.
That people have titles but don't do the job related to their title. Like, I don't mean to be rude. Eric Bieniemy was a great offensive coordinator, yet Andy Reid was the one that was calling the plays. Andy Reid really was the one calling the play. He had the title offensive coordinator, but Andy Reid was the one that was game planning and, again, calling plays. A good friend of mine who I played with, Kellen Moore, we played together 2 years in Detroit. He was the offensive coordinator in Dallas. But after that next year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mike McCarthy was the one that started calling the plays. Because, again, the offense that you run or that you're implementing and so forth can only be ran and called by you. So we'll give you the title offensive coordinator, but the reality of it is that's just a title. The job in itself will be done and handled by somebody else.
And I'm assuming the Commanders knew that when they had Eric Bieniemy this past season.
Mm-hmm.
Although he did do well, I want to say he did well as his first year as an offensive coordinator. But I'm assuming they said, "Hey, we already know this. Cliff Kingsbury's on the market. Let's go ahead and grab somebody who can actually fulfill their offensive coordinator role." Although it's sad, as well as he did in Washington last season. They're going to take Cliff Kingsbury. I want to say, like, although I kind of mess around and say the NFL is scripted and stuff, I want to say that I think that a lot of these people know what they want to do, especially in the front office, for months, maybe even a year to come before it actually happens. When they said, "Hey, we're going to draft Jaden Daniels," I felt that that was something that they were going to do when the season ended. When they knew they had that number 2 overall pick, they said, "This is the guy we're going to draft. Let's bring somebody who will fit with him so well and have a happy marriage like something Sean Payton and Drew Brees in New Orleans."
You have to think about this. If you're going to invest a first-round draft pick for the position of quarterback, and the franchise quarterback at that, you have to adopt things that this said quarterback is good at. This is one of the things that in my opinion has been a that kind of with Justin Fields in Chicago, it kind of was it never was a solid commitment. Number one, they always were switching offensive coordinators, and with that, some of it is the franchise's fault, and some of it is actually the coaching or excuse me, the players' fault, because you're changing offensive coordinators every year. That's one thing. That's a negative. He's not getting no type of relationship or rapport with that said offensive coordinator and whatnot. But Justin Fields also is not honing in on his talent and being a pro, consummate pro, studying, working on his mechanics, working on his fundamentals, reading defenses, reading coverages, getting a better bond and relationship with his receivers and tight ends, getting a better feel for the offense. So again, he can understand the nuances of the game. The game is a physical game, but yet the mental aspect of the game is more important, in my opinion, than the physical. Because if you can mentally adjust yourself and mentally, acclimate yourself to the game, it'll allow you to be able to. The game will be running and going in slow motion. It'll be going fast, but on TV it'll be going fast, but in your eyes and in your mind, it's slow motion, because again, you see the game for what it is. So you have to. It made only sense that the Commanders hired Cliff Kingsbury, because they knew for a fact they were going to draft LSU's quarterback Jaden Daniels, and his skill set lines up with what Cliff Kingsbury has had with the likes of a Kyler Murray. So again, we have to adjust to what needs to be adjusted.